You don't have much money left in your grocery budget. There are 3 weeks left in the month. What do? Hi, I'm Hope. This is Under the Median, where every week we talk about practical frugality. There are some easy practical strategies that you can use to stretch the amount of food that you already have on hand and feed your family for the next 3 weeks without feeding them PB&J or mac and cheese 3 nights a week. Although, there's nothing wrong with a little mac and cheese. I'll give you the tips and strategies that I use every single week, and stick with me because I'll show you examples of a customized menu plan that I just created today for an Under the Median viewer. And I'll show you photos of the finished food because I make these recipes for my family all the time. Carrie from Australia sent me an email. I'll read what she said. Can you help me? I spent $100 at Costco. It's so funny, Carrie, because we used to call Sam's the $100 store all the time because once you walked in, you never walked out without spending $100. I only have $100 left in my grocery budget for the month. She gave me a list of exactly what she had on hand. Now, everything that is on the table here in front of me is a representation of the items that she sent me. She sent me an exact list, and I recreated that list as best I could using items that I had on hand in my home. Carrie continued by saying she just recently cut her grocery budget and it's proving to be a little more difficult than she thought. It does take just a few weeks to get into the kind of swing of things once you cut your grocery budget, so don't worry about that. Spending $100 at Costco and having $100 left over till the end of the month, we got you covered. I'm going to show you exactly what you can make, and I'll also tell you exactly what you can buy at the grocery store with that $100 you have left over. Carrie gave me one bit of information that I did need to know. Her family size is 3 people. Her husband and her son eat meat, although Carrie is a vegetarian. All right, let's take a look at our example menu. I'll show you how to stretch ingredients to last for 3 weeks, and we'll use Carrie's ingredients as our example. The first thing you need to do when you're low on your grocery budget is you need a complete list of ingredients that you already have at home. Carrie did a pretty good job of doing this. One of the things I noticed though is that, for instance, she said she had part of a bag of potatoes left over. Now, I think I put like 8 potatoes on the table to represent the number that Carrie had. She might have more than that, she might have less than that, because I don't know how big of a bag she started out with. When you are low on your grocery budget, you need to count items. Now, you're not going to count like items that are really tiny, that you go, I have 83 kidney beans. You don't need to know that information. But if you have something larger and you're going to use it as a core ingredient in some of your recipes, you need to make sure that you count them before you start menu planning so that you know that you have enough to go around. When you're listing perishable food, you can use something like our perishable food inventory worksheet that we use every single week. But the most important thing about that list of perishable food is that it is prioritized. That means that the items which will go bad the soonest appear at the top of that list. That reminds you visually that if you have things, especially like things that are dairy, if you have cheese, which she had some cheese, she had some cream and some milk. Sometimes those items are pretty close to their sell-by date, and you're going to want to make sure that you use those at the first rather than the last of the month, especially when Carrie's in a situation where she's trying to menu plan for 3 weeks at a time. Because remember, the goal is to get to the end of the month without overspending that $100 that she has left in her grocery budget. The next thing you want to pay attention to is the number of days that you're menu planning for. In Carrie's case, she's planning for 3 weeks of a menu. That means 21 days, but she is not going to plan 21 different meals. No, she is not going to make 21 different recipes. She's going to plan for recipes that will feed her family for 2 to 3 days at a time. Whenever you're menu planning, especially for long lengths of time, topical menu planning is the way to go. I'm going to show you an example of a topical menu plan. In topical menu planning, I generally plan for 4 main dishes a week and 2 salads, 2 to 3 sides, 2 soups, And then I might also plan to make some homemade bread or a dessert or so. In Carrie's case, I think that we can do 3 main dishes for each of those 3 weeks, 2 soups per week, and 3 side dishes per week. But let's do a little bit of math. Over a course of 3 weeks, that means that we're going to make 9 main dishes, we're going to make 6 different soups, and we're going to make 9 different sides. The next step is what I call figure out what's missing. There were a couple of big blanks in the list that Carrie sent me, and I would immediately fill those blanks. Those blanks have to do with ingredients that appear in almost any dish that you're going to make. It's a trio of ingredients that are incredibly low cost. I noticed that Carrie said she had about 6 carrots. I would immediately add another 2-pound package of carrots to my grocery list. I would also add a 3-pound bag of yellow onions, and finally, I would add a package of celery. Because those 3 ingredients, onion, celery, carrots, as long as you have those ingredients on hand, you can cook a vast majority of recipes. Here's something else that may be missing that you might want to fill in the blank with, and that is low-cost ingredients that will stretch your meals. In this case, I'm suggesting that Carrie purchase a 2-pound bag of rice. That can be white rice or it can be brown rice, but 2 pounds of rice will go a long way in feeding her family without going over that $100 that she has left till the end of the month. And speaking of that $100, when you're filling in the blanks, here's one thing I want you to really consider doing. I always write down about what I think each of the items in my fill in the gaps grocery list. I make sure that I put down about what each item is going to cost me. Don't plan a grocery run that's going to cost you $100 if you have $100 left to the end of the month. Always leave yourself a little bit of space, at least $20 that you have in hand in case you run out of something and you really need to buy it before the month ends. Let's take a look at the grocery list that I created with my suggestions as to what Carrie should purchase at the grocery store. You'll see that all the items that I suggested she purchase come up to about $80, leaving her that really important $20 bumper that I suggested. So she has that $20 bill in hand just in case she needs to buy something quickly before she runs out of that at the end of the month. Once you have your fill in the gaps grocery list made, there's something else you should do before you head to that grocery store. You need to pick 1 main ingredient per week. This ingredient should be something that you have a lot of on hand, and particularly it's helpful if that item is low cost. I was super excited when I saw that Carrie had on hand a number of different dried beans. She said that she had a heaping lot of lentils. I assumed a heaping lot was about 6 pounds. I don't know. She said she had dried garbanzo beans, and she also said that she had dried black beans. You're going to take each one of those main ingredients and center that week's menu plan around that ingredient that you already have a lot of on hand in your home. Let's take a look at what this looks like when I just plug in each of these dried beans, 1 dried bean per week. These dried beans are going to add a lot of fiber and also some protein to our diet. Now, Carrie mentioned, of course, that her husband and her son do eat meat. The menu plan I created is plant-based because I'm plant-based. So taking into consideration that Carrie is vegetarian, I wanted her to be able to create a menu which reflected her vegetarian lifestyle with the option to add some meat to some of those recipes for her husband and her son. I decided the bean of the week would be featured in 4 different recipes each week. I know that seems like a lot, but remember, we're making 2 soups, 3 main dishes, and 3 side dishes. So the beans are going to appear in only 4 of those items. What this allows you to do is to stretch your food budget and stretch your recipes without your family feeling like the only thing they're eating on Garbanzo Bean Week is garbanzo beans. Once you know what your featured ingredient of the week is, and you know that that ingredient is going to appear in 4 different recipes each week, you can go ahead and start filling in your menu planner, making sure that you are utilizing as much as possible items that you have already purchased and already have in your home. Here's another tip that I know from tried and true practice. Leave one day of the week where you do not have a recipe written into that menu planner. Because I know from experience that some recipes will last longer than you think that they will. And it's always good to have one day of the week that we call the clean out the fridge night. And that means that everything that is left over in the fridge goes on the table and everyone gets to pick whatever they want to eat. It's a great way of making certain that you're using up those leftovers without them going bad and you wind up throwing them out in the garbage. All right, let's take a look at Carrie's customized menu that I created for her using items she already had in the house. On week 1, we have split pea soup and black bean pumpkin chili for the second soup recipe. I always like to mix it up just a little bit so that one of the soups we eat is kind of a smooth texture and the other soup is kind of a chunky texture. The nice thing about a chunky textured soup is if you have some left over, if it's a really thick soup, you can often just pile it on top of hot stuffed baked potatoes later in the week and use a little bit of leftover soup that wouldn't have fed your family for another night and allow it to feed your family by simply putting it on top of something else. For the side dishes, zucchini chips, cowboy beans, which if you've never had cowboy beans, Carrie, listen up. This is one of those recipes where you can put some meat in for your husband and your son. Cowboy beans are when you take a can of traditional baked beans and then you add some other beans to it along with some finely chopped onion and some more spices. And then you're going to add traditionally about 1/4 to 1/2 pound of ground beef in there. Basically, it's a really great way of sousing up some of your baked beans and making them a little more special. And not only that, it allows you to stretch that can of baked beans to feed your family for a meal. The salad for the week is spinach salad. Main dishes include black bean burgers, which we love, black bean rice roll-ups, and also cabbage rolls. I included cabbage on the list for Carrie. I know that here in the United States this week includes St. Patrick's Day. And because of that, usually cabbage is the lowest price it's going to go the entire year. So you can buy cabbage this week in the United States and you will pay a small portion of what you would pay for cabbage a different time of the year. Week number 2, lentil soup and curried pumpkin soup. French lentil salad, which can be served either hot or cold. Teriyaki rice salad, and also cheesy scalloped potatoes. I put that in there, Carrie, so that you can use up some of those dairy products that have been maybe languishing in the refrigerator a little bit too long. The other thing I should mention, we're almost ready to move on to week 3 of this customized menu plan, but you'll find as you go through the week that sometimes maybe you need to move some items up a little bit. If you see that that cream maybe is getting a little bit toward the place where you want to make sure you use it up, go ahead and pull those cheesy scalloped potatoes from week 2 and put them up in week 1. That's perfectly fine to do. This is like the ultimate mix and match menu plan. The bean of the week is lentils for week number 2. You're going to have some amazing lentil taco salad, spaghetti with lentil marinara sauce. I just made this last week for my family. We love it. It's easy peasy in the Instant Pot. And baked potatoes with cheesy topping. Once again, that was a way for you to use up a little bit of that cheese. Week number 3, the bean of the week is garbanzo beans. You'll be making garbanzo bean soup and vegetable soup. The salad is Greek pasta salad. Mwah, so good and so easy. Carrot and celery sticks with some chickpea spread and marinated vegetable salad. Marinated vegetable salad is what I call my dump salad. Literally, you open cans of vegetables, you drain the liquid off of them, you put them in a big bowl, you add a little bit of finely chopped onion and make a simple dressing to go over the top. You let it marinate, and it's one of those salads that just gets better as the week progresses. The main dishes on week 3, zucchini fritters, Carrot casserole. Carrot casserole is really easy. This is another one of those. It's like scallop carrot casserole, and you're going to put some cubes of bread on top and let them toast in the oven when you're making the casserole. This is another one of those casseroles that if you want to, you can go ahead and add some meat to it. You could add a couple of chopped chicken breasts to it, and that would be really good to make it into a main dish for those in your family who do eat meat. And then finally, you're going to have some Mediterranean chickpeas. Mediterranean chickpeas are easy to make, and you can serve them over some of that rice. If you'd like an example of my menu planning method in action, where I show you exactly how I'm making all of these dishes, I did a video where I took $10 of ingredients and created main dishes that fed my family for the entire week. That video is right over there.